Good morning, children. Hope you all are doing well. Thanks to God for keeping us all safe and sound, especially during this pandemic period. Welcome back to the lesson Rise of Nationalism in Europe. Children, we have already learned first two units of this lesson. Let us recall it fastly. In the first unit, we learnt about the French Revolution. We got an idea that how equality measures were being brought by them to bring commonness all over, as well as we learnt about the reformatory measures brought by Napoleon, as well as we learnt about this French armies, how they became the harbingers of liberty, how they tried to spread the ideas of nationalism all over Europe. And slowly, because of their greed, they started conquering parts of Europe and started ruling over them, forcibly over them, as well as they started imposing censorship, started making people to join army, so slowly they were being disliked by the people. In second unit, we learned the political status of Europe, that how differences were existing, the autocrat monarchs, the kingdoms, duchies, cantons, different languages, cultures, traditions. Only one common allegiance was there, that was their loyalty towards their emperor. One thing was that they all showed loyalty towards the emperor. Then we learnt about the aristocrats and the peasants. The structure of the society consisted of two people: the aristocrats, who were the politically and socially the dominant class, and the peasants, people those who had no rights. Likewise, then we learned, then slowly with the coming of industrialization, the emergence of new middle classes. And now new middle classes being educated, they wanted the nation state to be created. A nation state where equality, individual freedom, a government by consent, and freedom of market. We have also learnt about the new conservative regimes after 1815. Regimes means the government, children. These conservators, we have learnt about the meaning of conservatism, the group, those who believed in traditions, those who want to preserve their monarchical forms, the traditions, the family of theirs, the hierarchical orders. So these people, to restore their positions, they together, all these conservative forces, they together drew up a settlement for whole of Europe. This settlement was called to be as Treaty of Vienna. Now we have also learnt who were involved in it: the representatives of Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, who have collectively defeated Napoleon. We have also learnt about the autocratic monarchs, those who never wanted anyone to raise questions against them. They imposed censorship laws, how they used to curb activities. Okay, curb means they suppressed whosoever was questioning, whosoever were raising their voices against them. Then we also learned there was a group of people who came forward to oppose these monarchies. Who were the children? The revolutionaries. The people, those who wanted to overthrow this government, those who want to establish a nation state. And one of the revolutionary also we learnt about. Who was he? He was Giuseppe Mazzini, who had a belief that God had intended nations to be the natural units of mankind, where there is no discrimination, where there is all over equality. Now today we shall be starting with our new topic, that is Ages of Revolution, from 1830 onwards till 1848. Let's start. Our first topic is liberal nationalism. While the monarchs when they were consolidating their powers at that time, in all of Europe, a liberal nationalism were as a wave it was going through, and it was getting associated with revolutions. Now the parts of German, Italy, Ireland, Poland, and even Ottoman Empire, in all these parts the revolution was going on. And now these revolutions were being led by this nationalist liberal people. Now who consisted of regions like Italy, German, Ottoman Empire, Poland, Ireland, everywhere there were revolutions. And now these revolutions were led by liberal nationalists. Now who were these liberal nationalists? These were the educated middle classes. Educated middle classes like clerks, school teachers, doctors, professors, the business class, the merchants. Now let us learn the French Revolution, which took place in 1830. The first upheaval, it took place in France in 1830. The liberal nationalists, they overthrew the government of Bourbon dynasty. The dynasty which had recently come in power with the Treaty of Vienna. They were being overthrown. Now Louis Philippe, he was being installed to be as constitutional monarch. The same you remember, children, during 1789, the Louis XVI, he was being overthrown and he from his power, and he was being made to be as constitutional monarch. The same way here in 1830, the Bourbon dynasty, they were being overthrown, and Louis Philippe, he got into power as constitutional monarch. Now the Duke Metternich, the Chancellor of Austria, he had once said, when France sneezes, the whole of Europe catches cold. The same way what happened? It spreaded like fire all over Europe. Now this July Revolution, it sparkled an uprisings in Brussels, leading towards Belgium, breaking away from United Kingdoms of Netherlands. So this is how the whole of Europe, there was a spark of nationalism to come ahead to speak against their monarch. An event which mobilized the nationalist sentiments, especially among the educated elites across the Europe, was the Greek War of Independence. Greeks, they were being dominated by the Muslim Empire. They were under the subjugation of Ottoman Empire since 15th century. When this nationalism wave was going on all over Europe, they also got inspired by it. The nationalists over here, they wanted to fight against the Muslim Empire. Their nationalist struggle for independence, it started in the year 1821. The nationalists in Greek, they got supported from the Greek, those who were in exile, as well as from the West Europeans. The Europeans, those who had a sympathies towards the Greek culture. They all came united to fight against this Muslim dominance. Now, there was not only the role of this nationalist people, there was the role of even the poets, the artists, those who through their poems, through their paintings, they mobilized people, they inspired people to come united against the Muslims. Now these poets, through their poems, they reminded people that how Greeks used to be the cradle for the European civilization. They inspired people to come ahead for the war. The English poet Lord Byron, he organized funds to support the war, and he himself participated in the war later, where he died of fever in 1824. But Greeks, they did not stop. They continued with their war struggle, the struggle for independence against the Muslims. Finally, in 1832, with the Treaty of Constantinople, the Greeks, they were being declared to be as an independent nation. So thus, the war of struggle to get independence was successful. So there was a role of nationalists, the educated elites, the common people, even the poets and artists. So thus, in a united way, they stood and they got the winning. After the Greek war, in whole of Europe, a movement started. The movement which was called Romanticism. Yes, children, not only the wars or territorial expansions was helpful in spreading nationalism, but culture also had an important role in spreading and shaping the ideas of nationalism through the help of poems, stories, music and dances. So thus, Romanticism was a cultural movement which framed nationalist sentiment. Romantic artists, poets, they criticized the reason and science. Instead, they focused on emotions, intuitions and mystical feelings. They wanted the people to be reminded that they have shared a common culture, a common heritage. They are the basis of nation. Our romanticists, a German philosopher, Johann Gottfried. He said that the true German culture can be discovered from among the common people. Through folk songs, folk poems, folk dances, that became a true spirit of nation building. So recording, collecting these folklores, that became an essential project for nation building. They also started emphasizing on vernacular languages so that they could even get the feelings, the ideas of the common people, so that these common people, those who were mostly illiterate, they could also the nationalist messages could be spread among these people. Thus, two aims they were getting through this. They were able to recover the national spirits, as well as they were able to meet to these large audiences and convey the messages of nationalism. Let us study through the example of Poland. The Poland, who has got partitioned from the great powers Russia, Prussia and Austria at the end of 18th century. Soon after the partition also, it could not enjoy as an independent territory. Nationalist feelings here in Poland, they were kept alive through music and language. One example has been given, Karol Karpiński. He celebrated the nationalism through his operas and music. His struggles, they inspired people by music. Here operas means it's a play where the actors, they sing the words. Means the whole action is done in the form of singing. In the singing, the conversation is done through singing. So kind of entertainment where the nationalism feelings, they were being awakened among the common people. Even the folk dances like Polonaise, Mazurka, they were turned into nationalist symbols. Thus we understood, children, Romanticism to be a cultural movement which also was helpful in shaping and expressing the nationalist feelings. The nationalist feelings especially among the common people, those who were mostly illiterate. Language too played an important role in developing nationalist sentiments. Let's see how Polish language was used as a symbol of struggle against the Russian dominance. When Russians were dominating over Poland, the Polish language was overthrown out of schools from everywhere, and Russian language was imposed everywhere, which was disliked by the common people over there. The clergy people, the educated class disliked it, and an armed rebellion took place against the Russian dominance in 1831, which ultimately got crushed up by the Russian powers. Following this, many clergies in the church, they started using language as a weapon for national resistance. Now, in the churches, the bishops, the priests, they started preaching in Polish languages. The religious instructions were even given in Polish languages. But the Russian dominance, they caught this priest, the bishops, they were sent to jail and even to Siberia as a punishment for refusing to preach in Russia. Thus we have learned that how even the languages were being used for developing nationalist sentiments. To show the disobedience, the people used even languages also. Now let us learn the status of people during economic hardship in 1830s. Yes children, the 1830s were years of great economic hardship in Europe. The reason was, in the first half of the 19th century only, there was an increase in population. As the population was increasing, the food demands were increasing, there were more job seekers than the employees. Because of the lack of employment, because of the food shortages, scarcity, there were all over poverty. Even from the villages, the people were forced to come towards the cities, where again the unemployment problem increased. Now the cities, they were getting overcrowded with this village people. Now these village people, they were forced to live in the overcrowded slums. There were also a small group of producers, those whose main occupation was textile production. Those who used to carry this textile production in their homes or in small workshops over there, and where the machines they were partly being used. Means more mechanization was not there. And these people they had to face a stiff competition with the machine-made goods. The machine-made goods which were introduced from England. And as we have studied about England, that industrialization began in England in the mid half of the 18th century, and they were more advanced than any other part of this continent. Now, during this economic hardship, where the peasants were struggling with the feudal dues and obligations, the aristocrats still enjoyed their lives. The rise of food prices, the years of bad harvests, that made the conditions more worse, and there was extreme poverty in all over Europe. So this period came to be known as economic hardship. Now, because of the food shortages, unemployment, poverty, the people of Paris they walked out on the roads. In pairs they came out to raise their voices against the monarchs. Seeing this, the monarchs, the noble class, they became afraid. The barricades were erected, which means the entrances were blocked. Why these entrances were blocked? So that the common people could not enter to the palaces of these kings. But still fearing them, Louis Philippe, he was forced to flee out of the town. And thus, the educated middle class, they came ahead, they formed the National Assembly. And then, the France was declared to be as Republic, as we have learned during 1789. As we have learned in the French Revolution, during Jacobin's government, during 1792, France was once declared to be as Republic. Now this was the second time, again with the help of the educated elite classes, they formed National Assembly and they formed Republic. Now all the adult males above 21 years, they were given the right to vote and guaranteed the right to work. And even national workshops were being set up to provide employment. Now let's learn about Silesian weavers, those who revolted against their contractors. This event happened in 1845 as described by the journalist Wilhelm Wolff. Now this Silesian village, it consisted of 18,000. The population was of 18,000 and the common occupation over here was cotton weaving. Misery was extreme, means there was poverty all over and there was a desperate need of the jobs. That's why there was a competition between the workers only. So that this situation was taken as an advantage by the contractors. Now these contractors used to supply raw materials and demanded the textile productions. But the payments of these workers were reduced. Now one day on 4th June at 2 p.m. these weavers thought of to revolt against the contractor. Now why did they thought of to revolt? Because of their extreme poverty. So many people was there, desperate need of job was there, lack of food, shortages of food. They thought of to now revolt. They came out of their houses in pairs and they came to the mansion of this contractor. And as soon as they reached over there, they demanded for the high wages. Seeing this, in return what did they get? They were being beaten by scorns and even they were being threatened. And after this what happened? And another group of weavers, they came ahead, they came forcibly into the house of this contractor. They broke the windows, the furniture over there, the valuable things over there. And then another group that also came in. They went into the storehouses of the contractor's house, and there also the supply of cloth that got destroyed. Seeing the power of the weavers, the contractor himself could not control the situation. He ran away along with his family to the neighboring village, and when he tried to find shelter, but he was not given shelter by the neighboring village. And then after 24 hours, he arranged for an army and he returned back to the village Silesia. And as you know children, army is more powerful. 11 weavers, they were being shooted. So thus, common people of the village Silesia, they revolted against their contractors, though they were suppressed. Now let us learn about the liberal revolutions which happened in 1848. let's study the last topic of ours, the revolution of the liberals, which we will be studying in 4 points. The first point of ours is constitutional and national unification. Second is Frankfurt Parliament. Third is the issue of women. And fourth is the liberal support. Let's start with constitutional and national unification. Parallel to the revolts which was made by poor, unemployed, starving peasants and the workers in many European countries, a revolution was also led by the middle class educated people. We have learned, children, how because of the economic hardship which was faced from 1830 onwards, how the people came out on the roads of Paris and how they all together, especially the middle classes, they formed a national assembly and France was declared to be as republic, and universal male suffrages was been given, which means all the adult males above 21 years, they were given the right to vote. Thus France was declared to be as republic in the year 1848. But and other parts like Germany, Italy, Poland, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, where independent nations did not yet existed. From these places, the men and women of the liberal middle classes, they came demanding constitutionalism with national unification, which means they demanded that the nation state to be created with the parliamentary principles, a constitution, a freedom of press and a freedom of association. In German regions, a large number of political associations used to be, and the members of it were the high-class professionals, the businessmen and the prosperous artisans. These representatives, they collected together in Frankfurt to vote for an all-German National Assembly. On 18th May 1848, the 831 elected representatives, they came forward, they walked in a festive, just like a festive processions, they moved towards Frankfurt to be the members of the Frankfurt Parliament. They came to the Church of St. Paul. These representatives, they drafted a constitution for the whole of Germany, and they decided that there will be a constitutional monarch who will be working according to the principles formed by the Parliament. Now these elected representatives, they offered the crown to Frederick Wilhelm IV, the King of Prussia. But he rejected this proposal of these elected representatives, and instead he joined the other monarchs to oppose this elected assembly. Now the aristocrats, along with the help of military, they became more powerful and tried to erode the social basis of Parliament. And now the Parliament, which consisted of this educated middle class, as they had resisted the demands made by the workers, the artisans, consequently lost their support. And slowly, with the help of the army, completely this Parliament got disbanded. Now let us learn, children, the issue of women. As we were learning about the women from the French Revolution, that how active they were, they participated in revolutionary activities. It was the women, those who participated first in the immediate revolution. They stormed in the bread shops, they looted over there, they formed the people's militia along with the men, they formed their political associations, but still they were ignored. Means giving the political rights to women, it was a controversial one from the beginning. Now also the women actively were participating in political associations, founded newspapers, and they were taking part in political meetings and even in demonstrations. In spite of their active role in revolutionary activities, they were denied the right to vote. Now children, when this Frankfurt Parliament was being formed, they were being allowed, but they were allowed to stand in the visitors gallery. Though the conservative forces, they were able to suppress this liberal nationalists, but they couldn't restore the older orders which they used to enjoy from years. Instead, they started realizing the cycle of revolution, repression could be stopped only by granting concessions to this liberal nationalists. Hence, in the year after 1848, the autocratic monarchies of the Central and Eastern Europe, they started initiating the changes, the modern changes, which was already been started in the Western Europes before 1850. Thus, serfdom, bonded labors, this all systems, it got abolished both in Russian dominance as well as in Habsburg's dominions. As well, in 1867, the Hungarians, they were being given more autonomy by the Habsburg Empire. Thus, we have come to an end of this unit, the ages of revolution, which started from 1830s till 1848. In the beginning, we started with that how the revolution started by the educated middle class. Then we learned that how the first upheaval which took place in France in the year 1830s. Then we learned about the Greek War of Independence. The Greeks, with the supports of the Greeks, those who were in exile, the Western Europeans and the poets, the artists, with the support of all, how they got independence in the year 1832. Then we learnt about a new cultural movement which was called Romanticism. With the help of arts, music, song, dances, the ideas of nationalism was spreaded all over in Europe. Then we learned that how, because of the economic hardship in the year 1848, the France was being declared to be as republic. Then we learned, children, that how the common people, the common weavers of Silesia, how they revolted against their contractor, though they got suppressed by them. Then we learned the 1848 revolution. In 1848 revolution, we understood that the how educated middle class, they wanted a unification, a constitutionalism with parliamentary principles and a constitutional monarch to be formed. We understood that how Frankfurt Parliament, it got disbanded with the help of army and by the monarchs, because monarchs, they opposed it. And we have also learned that how they resisted the common people, the demands of the peasants, the demand of the workers. Because of it, they lost their support. And at the last, we understood that how the conservatives, they, even though they were able to suppress this liberal nationalists, but they couldn't restore to their older orders. The privileges which they used to enjoy from years, that got lost. These monarchs also had a fear with this liberal nationalists. So, to stop all the movements which were started by liberal nationalists, they thought of to grant concessions to them. Thus, we have covered all the topics of ages of revolution from 1830 till 1848. Hope you have understood all the topics taught. Have a nice day, children.